Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? Today, not only I'm going to show you how you can properly diagnose a bad ball joint, but I'm also going to show you how you can replace it. Now, before we go any further, if you see any tools or products used in this video that pique your interest, I put links to where you can buy them for cheap online in the description box, so don't be afraid to click on them and check them out. Alright, so as you just saw, this car makes a squeaking sound whenever you turn the wheels back and forth. Now, interestingly enough, that squeaking sound is not the most common symptom of a bad ball joint. Now, some more common symptoms of a bad ball joint are going to be a clunking or a popping sound coming from your wheels when you drive over little potholes, car pulling to the right or to the left. And if you drive on a bad ball joint long enough, you'll have uneven tire wear. Now, in order to verify that you indeed have a bad ball joint, what you'll need to do is to first raise and support the side that you suspect is a bad ball joint on jack stands. And next, you want to grab your wheel at the 12 and 6 o'clock positions and rock it back and forth and look for play. See, by rocking your wheel back and forth in those positions, you put tension on your lower, and if your car is equipped with one, upper ball joints. And if you do feel any play, that means that you could potentially have either a lower or upper bad ball joint. Well, you'll need to visually verify that, because if you have a bad wheel bearing, you'll have the same play in your wheel. Now, as you can hopefully see, there is no play in the lower ball joint for this car. But we still hear that squeaking noise, so what is the hell? See, the way ball joints work is that in the center of it, you have this shaft that's rounded towards the bottom. This guy right here. And this bottom end sits inside the housing. And here's the housing for this ball joint. Now, since both these two pieces are made out of metal and they cannot rub against each other for a prolonged period of time, what they put between these two is going to be some type of a plastic seal or bushing. And in order to prolong the life of that bushing, what they put inside of these ball joints is going to be some grease. And in order to make sure that grease stays in there, that's where the rubber boot comes in. In so many words, what I suspect has happened here is that rubber seal inside the ball joint has worn out, and every time this ball joint is turning inside of there, when we turn our wheel, it's starting to make a noise. And if you look closely, you can see a completely torn rubber boot and the grease that's badly contaminated with dirt, dust, and debris. Now, you also have ball joints inside your inner and outer tie rods, which work pretty much exactly the same way. But the only ball joint that's rotating, which would mean is the one that could potentially be making this noise while we turn our wheel back and forth, is going to be our lower or upper ball joint. Also, now with that side raised off the ground and no load on that ball joint, when we turn the wheel, we don't hear the noise. Alright, enough of that. Let's get on to the repair procedure now. So in order to replace a ball joint, you of course need a basic set of hand tools. Some wrenches would also help, especially if they're ratcheting wrenches like these with my logo on them. Oh yeah, my own brand of ratcheting wrenches. These will be available for sale hopefully within the next month or so through my website if you guys are interested. But most important of all, you're gonna need a ball joint press like you see here. Alright, first things first, we're gonna remove our wheel. Alright, next we're going to remove our brake caliper with our brake caliper bracket. So we'll be removing these two bracket bolts, one up top, as you can see here, and another one lower on the bottom. Here's the top one. And here's the bottom one. Now, before you take this bottom one and completely remove your bracket, you want to make sure you have something that you can rest this caliper bracket on so it's not dangling off the brake line. Like this. Alright, since we're completely planning on removing the steering knuckle, what we're going to do next is to remove our outer tie rod end. Alright, so first a couple of shots of PB Blaster. And next, we'll remove our cotter pin. There we go. And next, we'll remove our castle nut. Some more PB Blaster action. Alright, so in order to detach our outer tie rod end from our steering knuckle, what we're going to need to do is grab ourselves a nice big hammer and whack it right here on the steering knuckle side, right here. There we go. And next, since this car is equipped with ABS, we're going to remove our ABS sensor by removing these two bolts that you see attached to our steering knuckle. Here's the one up top. And here's the one on the bottom. And here's our ABS sensor. There we go. Alright, so next we're going to loosen the castle nut for lower ball joints. So first, we'll remove our cotter pin. There it is. And next we're just going to loosen this castle nut. We're not going to remove it completely. Yeah, we're just going to back it out this much. This is enough. And then we'll come up to our upper ball joint and control arms, and we're going to remove this nut and then remove this bolt. Here we go. And next, if we're lucky, we should be able to just hammer this out. There we go. Or you might need to use a punch or whatever you have at your disposal to get it out. Once again, some more PB blaster action, right where our upper ball joint goes through our steering knuckle. And again, some hammer action on the steering knuckle part. There we go. And then we come on the bottom, and then more hammer action. Finally, that took a while. Alright, and now we can remove the lower ball joint castle nut, and then remove our steering knuckle. This. So here's a look at our lower ball joint. So if we were to remove this, we need to push this through our control arm. So first, we're going to remove the snap ring that's around it. There we go. Watch your eyes. Next, some more PB blaster action around our ball joint. So in order to remove it, we could use our ball joint press, but it's much easier just to try to hammer it out. Just make sure you don't damage your control arm. Also, if your lower control arm is not supported, like is the case in this case, by our shock and also our stabilizer bar and link, make sure you put your jack underneath it so as you're hammering, this doesn't move down. Alright, next we'll clean the area with some brake clean. And next we go to our ball joint press, find the right adapters. So for this, we're going to use this ring. This is the one that's going to go against this housing on the bottom. And then this is all going to go on the bottom portion of the press, and we're going to get it on the bottom and try to push it up through this hole inside our control arm. So these are going to go like this on the bottom of the ball joint press, and once we're sure it's centered, it's going to go here. We're going to get another adapter, and then when we put our adapter here and start screwing this in, that's going to push this through our lower control arm. There we go. Now I couldn't find the right adapter, but luckily I have a large enough socket that I can use. Alright, next, by using our ratchet, we're going to run this down. You just want to make sure you go nice and slow, just in case that thing starts binding, you can back it out and try again. So it got kind of hard way too quick. So I'm going to actually back this out, take a look-see. As you can see, the left side is coming up a little bit further than the right side, but I don't think I have much of a choice since I don't have the right adapters, and this thing is just not going to go in super even. I'm just going to see if I can force it through, and then once it gets all the way to the top, it will hopefully even out on its own. If not, we'll figure something out, I'm sure. Alright, time to break out the big guns. Alright, so actually this thing did bind towards the top where I couldn't even push it with my air gun. So what I did was use my jack and the adapters and a socket to support the ball joint from underneath. And then when the ball joint was supported with the jack, I came up here and tapped on this end where it was not going as high as the other side. I tapped on the control arm side and pushed that down. And now it's fairly even. I should be able to use the press to get it in the rest of the way. Something popped. Alright, we got it. Alright, next we'll install our new snap ring, like this. Alright, next we'll install our grease fitting. Make sure it ends up facing somewhere that's going to be accessible later on. Alright, so the rest of this is just going to be the reversal removal, so I won't get that on camera. Just you know, make sure you torque these down to the proper torque specification for your car's make and model. Also make sure you use new cotter pins. So I'm just going to go ahead and put everything back together, and the next shot you guys will see will be us testing, you know, turning the wheel back and forth to see whether we fixed our issue or not. So there you have it, folks. That's how you can properly diagnose and replace a bad lower ball joint. So yeah, if you like this video, do me a favor and share this video on your favorite social network. And also consider checking out these other related videos, of which I put links to on this side of the screen that you can click on. There will also be links in the description box down below as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.